Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cone Racing League for more Tier 1 action here at Baku in Azerbaijan. And I am joined today with Steven, as always. Nice to see you, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great to hear, as always, mate. And we had the Tier 3 race back on Monday, where we saw plenty of chaos and action, like you always expect in the league race here at Azerbaijan. But we're about to see some more than in Tier 1. And we'll go on board then with the first driver. I think it's an AlphaTauri who's out there first, and I think that could be Chivoon Vista, which it is, with that lovely purple helmet of his now in the AlphaTauri. Before we saw both Toro Rossos, as we called back then, almost made contact down at turn 16. I think Brendan Hartley, or I think Pierre Gasly, oh no, it was Brendan Hartley who sustained a puncher, and Pierre Gasly had to take avoiding action. Where Chivoon Vista is right now, we saw that safety car where Romain Grosjean crashed, and the blame was sent to Ericsson by his race engineer. Funny moments down there. And talk about 2018, Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen also crashed down at turn number 1 then, so there's been plenty of racing action in real life. But look at that, Chivoon Vista sliding on. I thought he was going to go into the wall there, but thankfully he didn't, because that would have been embarrassing on his out lap in qualifying, with only qualifying just starting in the baby early moments. But I think McLaren's just gone off down at turn number 3. He's stationary, and now AlphaTauri who's just gone past him. So I hope that hopefully he gets away, because I think that is Nelly Safu, because one of them's in the pit lane. So Nelly Safu there has to be careful. Here comes Chivoon Vista then on his flying lap, 345 kilometers an hour, headed down into turn number 1. Then let's see how it takes it, kissing the inside apex into turn 1. Not run too out wide into the exit of turn 1, because the outside barrier is there. Coming into T2 then, let's see how it takes this, kissing the apex there. Not too much though, because look at that, it unsettles the car immediately on the exit there. The car unstable coming out of turn number 2 then, so he'll be thinking about not doing that again. Into turn number 3, braking before the 100-meter board. Let's see how it takes this one, kissing the apex, getting a really good exit. Oh, not quite though, the back end just happy there, going out of turn number 3 there. Going into turn number 4, you can see the back end just stepping out ever so slightly as he gets on the throttle then, so the back end's a bit tail happy there. Got to be very careful on the exit, it seems like. You can see there more action going on the back end there, so sliding around just slightly. Going into turn number 7 then, hooking you can take a lot of curve without validating through there. And coming into turn number 8, 9, turn 11. Oh, I thought that was so close to hitting the barriers. He was turning so early, so sharp, as the AlphaTauri negotiates his way through around the castle section, then very lovely through the entry and exit through there. Now carrying the high speed, going through the high speed corners then, flat out through both left-handers. Now going into turn number 16 then, can catch a lot of drivers out, but Chivoon making use of using all the track. Is a 15.0 in the middle sector there. Oh, the back end just stepping out, so the car is not really balanced, just doesn't look well on that AlphaTauri. Just, you can see him just oversteering everywhere he goes, every corner he takes as well, so he's going to be really careful. There's more yellow flags down there, the McLaren and Nelly Safu there causing yellow flags, so hopefully he gets away unscathed. But here comes Chivoon Vista then. Let's see what time this is going to be, and it's going to be a 39.2 then, so I think that already beats Tier 2's pole position. So Chivoon Vista there sets the benchmark, which is replaced by Leroy, a few hundreds quicker than Chivoon Vista. But I dare say more people will beat Chivoon, not because of his driving, well, because of the car setup, I dare say, because you can see him sliding all over the show, as there's an Aston Martin who's took the escape road, it seems like, and he doesn't look like he was confident going into the castle section. That is see reversing. I think Nico Hulkenberg, Carlos Sainz went down there in 2021 when he was on the cold hard tyres. But there's more yellow flags down there. There's an Alpine who looks like he's had a problem going into turn 16. That was Oriden, who's lost his front wing, unfortunately, so he'll have to make his way back in the pit lane and replace, well, put on a brand new wing. But I just saw it down at turn 16 there, and McLaren going deep, and I think that was Nelly Safu there. He's struggling, unfortunately for him. But there's more times been on the board there with AJ in P3, Jasper in P4, so there's still people in the 40s, but hopefully they can find some time as Kenny puts it into P8. So yeah, Chivoon Vista then, QRT Leroy, who struggled most of the season, didn't really have the best races this season, but looks like he's got some pace in that Alfa Romeo, and he puts it into P1 with a 39.2, Stevan.
Yes, indeed. I was watching on board with Aurelian. Aurelian actually locked up into turn 2, went straight on, lost his front wing already then, and had many close attempts as Troye goes on pole position with a 39.1, the third driver, in the 39s. But Aurelian really was close to breaking his suspension, because he hit the wall plenty of times without front wing. So yes, he's a lucky man to to be in his qualifying session still. Liam is also has retired from this session due to probably a qualifying ban. So fortunate for him, but the way it is. But his teammate in second place, Leroy, indeed, he hasn't had the greatest seasons. Quite a lot of incidents he's been in, but he seems to be on the pace right now in P2, ahead of the championship leader Tony, who's just gone into P4 with a 39.3. But you know, Tony can always be on the pace right there. Got to switch to the wheel soon. After, of course, he was a pad user, but he's got to switch to wheel. What do you think about that, Jamie?
That's an interesting decision. I think he's going to do well on the wheel. Obviously, he's going to take a lot of time to adapt. He's going to be very patient, unlike me, who got rid of the wheel straight away after not adapting to it. But you've got to, you've just got to be patient with it and find your rhythm with it and find the perfect setup as well, like the wheel setup as well in general. But hopefully he does well. I don't think he should switch it to cone because obviously he's in a championship fight. Maybe in other league races, yeah, but this one, he looks like he's definitely fighting for a championship, I dare say. Well, it is obvious, but I don't think he should switch it to cone unless he feels really confident and feels like he's got some good pace behind his hands and can already find a good setting to drive with. But I think it's been an interesting call from Tony. I can't wait to see how he does on the wheel. But I'm on board with Resify, and turn number 1 and 2, back end of the car stepping out, he actually hit the wall into turn 6, but thankfully he didn't damage his front wing, and he makes his way across the line now. He's going to be in the 40s for sure because he got a really bad exit cut out of turn 16, so he lost all that momentum going down the straight because obviously turn 16 the last braking, turn 17 the last braking zone, and you carry that speed all the way with you down the straight. And we saw Kimi Räikkönen back in 2018 when he looked like he was going to go for pole position, but he had a really bad exit cut out of turn 16, and that cost him pole, I dare say. But that Ferrari then, tail happy, again like the AlphaTauri. But Giroud, despite those little, I don't know, they're not mistakes obviously, but despite that car being really happy at the back end, it shows you like the car hasn't got a lot of downforce because it's doing top speeds like 245 kilometers an hour, so that must be like, what, 215 miles per hour to put into MPH. But that AlphaTauri's got some straight line speed, and that's indicating why he's all over the place in the exit of the corners. Maybe different for the race because obviously in the qualifying sessions you feel it at the very low, the car's very light, and you just go full pace with it. But we'll see how he copes during the race, and might cost him in qualifying just a bit, especially towards the end where the pressure is really ramping up. He might want to get in the throttle maybe later, maybe might obviously make a few mistakes. But Walter has retired from the session was it in the pit lane? There's a Haas gone off at turn number 1 there, and I don't think he's gone off. I think it's on his outlap. That's Jasper. No, there's a Haas at turn 2, but on my map it's moving. Yeah, that was quite weird. There isn't a Haas at turn number 2. Yeah, that's true.
It's a Haas, I think ran white. It's Jasper ran white in turn 2. He's on his outlap currently, so probably with cold tires coming out of the pits. Wouter presumably has retired in the pits because I see one Mercedes going out and the others in the pits. So guessing it's a retirement in the pits or a qualifying ban. I'm not sure why he got a qualifying ban. Due to incidents, maybe last race that we might have missed. But he's going to be starting at minimum P17, which is quite unfortunate for him as he's shown improvement over the last couple of races here. So gonna be a shame for him, but we know he's gonna make his way up. You have to be alert on the street circuit, like Julian Palmer said back in 2016. And there will be many safety cars and chaotic moments. So undoubtedly he will make his way up throughout the grid.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen Walter do it in the past, and I dare say he'll do it again. We know Walter's got some good pace behind his hands, the Dutchman. I'm on board with O'Reilly, and there's his Alpine teammate ahead of him giving a lovely tow down the straight. So the Alpine of O'Reilly then back out on the circuit despite losing his front wing. Has that dented his confidence, I wonder, as he makes his way across the line? It's a 39.6 as his first lap time, as his Alpine teammate Leo sets off after a lap. So already in his first lap time, 39.6, a few hundreds behind AJ, who's currently out there. A few hundreds down in that first sector then is AJ Wuhan. And the Netherlands Grand Prix, the Dutch GP last week, was very interesting, especially when the rain came, because we saw a mixture of strategies. Unfortunately, the wet runners got it completely wrong. the strategy was hards to inters if you made the hards last, of course. But I think the top guys was going to pit to do the undercut on others because I don't think they would have risked it staying out there on the hards. But it worked out for Seba and Bompier. Bompier ended up on the podium after his amazing defence. A few mistakes going wide into slow speed corners, but nevertheless he kept his cool head and managed to get on the podium defending from Kenny, who scored his best result in P5. AJ, however, has found time in the middle sector by a tenth, so despite losing a bit of time in the first sector, he's gained some in the middle and he's currently P6 then. So let's see where this time puts him. If he finds more time in this last sector, which is like a few corners, it's mostly flat out in the last sector. But anyways, AJ's going to make his way towards the line. Let's see what lap time this is going to be. It's going to be a 39.6. So he's actually lost some time, it says. 3 thousandths down, sorry. So he lost time in the last corner. So I didn't see him make a mistake, but he must have took it faster in the last corner. But his straight line speed is not as great as Jeroen because he was doing 345 kilometers an hour on that straight, whereas AG was doing 341. So you can clearly see the downforce setups they've gone for, no matter downforce they slapped on the car or taken off. But AJ then in P6, and unfortunately not improving for him. He had a mighty middle sector, but it looks like something happened in the last sector to cost him a little bit of time then. So Isak Kush there in P5 is on a lap, but he's not using the ERS, so he's gone for a push lap to just get the extra bit of temperature in the tyres. And Jasper has put his Haas up into P5 then with a 39.5, gone 6 turns quicker than his previous best. So he's showing some good form here is Jasper. He's raced, has he raced? I think he's raced once this season, hasn't he? Has Jasper?
He has. He raced last week in Zandvoort, making his debut in Tier 1. He had a good qualifying session. I think he qualified near the top 10, but just couldn't make it stick. Oh, as Leo hits the ball, unfortunately, nearly DNFing, losing his front wing. So that's the second Alpine losing his wing this qualifying session. But Taco Jasper, he did have a good, decent qualifying, but didn't get it together in the race. So that's the main target for Jasper. Being consistent in the race, don't break front wing, and generally stick in the DRS window so he can bounce if other cars make mistakes, which is quite prone this season. So hopefully he can turn it around. Leo is now in P12. I was on board with him. He had a horrible final corner where he lost at least like 3 to 4 tenths. If you get a bad run, of course, in the final corner, you lose so much momentum towards the straight. So undoubtedly Leo can still improve from P12 here. So, but times are getting better. Everyone's going towards the 39s. Actually, Troy has done a 38.6. He's 6 tenths ahead of everyone. So, Troy looking really good. Are we going to see a 7th different winner? We're going to find out after this qualifying session.
Can we emulate the record back in 2012 where there were 7 different winners in 7 races? We've had 6 different winners this season, and Troye, thanks to his footage, because he looks like he was going to get a definite penalty, but apparently there was a bit of lag, so fair enough there for Troye to defend his case. So it's 6 different winners so far this season. Can we get a 7th? The 7th one could be Jeroen or Leroy. Jeroen hasn't won a race yet because the Monza Grand Prix, where he had post-race penalty due to some incidents out there, but it's a good chance for Jeroen up into P3, and Leroy as well. Leroy looking on good form, because I remember at Monza he was just all over the place, but looks like he's found some good pace in that Alfa Romeo to put it on the front row. But CPI Troy is a milestone ahead of everybody. The first man to get the 38.6s, that is incredible time to be setting, especially, well, I've got to say this, especially using assists as well. Not racing line, because anybody can, anybody can be fast. But I'm talking about medium traction control and automatic gears. I'm not quite all others assists you use, but medium traction control is not really quick, is it? It's a bit sluggish on the X's, isn't it? I'm not used medium traction control since like 2016, 2017 games, but it's incredible to see how much pace, despite using those assists, he's actually finding a lot of time. It must be said. No disrespect, of course. You know what I'm coming from, don't you?
Yeah, indeed. Of course, I used to be assist runner back in F1 2019. I used to use all assist, my automatic gearbox, line, ABS on, and I can definitely notice that it's quicker without. What's it again? Gearbox is of course if it's a manual, then it's better, and if you have traction control off, then it's gonna be quicker. But it's so difficult to get right, especially on this game, since the throttle application is difficult, and I'm struggling with it myself. But it is faster if you get used to it. Of course, you can be a bit safer if you have on medium. You can still lose the back end, spin out, etc., and not blast it, but you can go on the throttle a bit quicker and slowly adapt. I haven't used it this game since I turned off traction control last game, or 2 games ago, so yeah, I don't really know how difficult it is, how easy it is with assist, but in terms of fun and improvement, it's definitely worth turning off, since your pace can drastically improve.
I'm on board with Tony here, and that was a mighty first sector, almost 5/10 up, just alone in the first sector, so, oh, he scraped the wall coming out there, won't do him no harm, but let's see how he takes this castle section. Very nicely indeed, using all the track, maximising all the track. Gets a decent exit there, using a lot of runoff or curb on the exit. So let's see his middle sector, because he could be another man to break in to the 38s as well. Another talented driver out there, Tony, coming into turn number 16. Let's see how he takes this slight lock up, but won't affect him too much. Gets a decent exit, good run all the way down into turn 18. And that is 5/10 up in this middle sector. Is that going to be enough to dethrone? Oh, I'm not quite sure what happened on the exit. I thought he lost the car. But is that going to be enough to dethrone Troye? He needs to find a little bit more time than that if he wants to take away Troye's pole position. But Troye there out again. So there's 45 seconds left in the qualifying session, it says. Oh my goodness, that's gone quick. Unbelievably quick. Tony's making his way towards the line. What's it going to be? A 38.7, 6/10 found. Well, 1/10 found in that last sector, but what a lap time there from Tony to put his Williams in the 38s as well. So let's see, Troye, he's making his way towards the line to start his last flying lap. So I think he did a push lap or made a mistake on his other lap, because it says he's done, no, that's his brand new set of tyres, so I'm on the wrong graphic, but that's his brand new set of tyres. Going for his final flying lap is the Swedish driver, who's currently third in the championship, moving up as Leroy's gone 1/10 quicker in the first sector. Then let's see what this Irish driver can do. Bit hesitant going there in the castle section, but nevertheless carrying the speed. And I love to see the lines and gears they take, because I see some people carrying 4th gear into the corner, some in 3rd gear, so it's very interesting what tactics they use into these corners. I think my preference is 4th gear as well into the corners. Going into turn number 16, let's see who takes it. Bit wide on the entry, not really hooking up, getting close to the curb as much as you wanted it in that entry, but 1100's up though, and I don't think that's going to improve his position. It's going to improve his time if he can find any more time in this last sector. Might get a good slipstream off the Aston Martin if he's kind enough, but I think he's on a lap too. I think both Aston Martins are on a lap, Isaac Kush and Sieb down in P14 there, so he'd be hoping to boost into the top 10. But let's see what Leroy could do. There's Jeroen's crossed the line to go P3 with a 38.9, taking away Leroy's P3. Leroy goes P4, and he lost time in that last sector there, as we've got Aston Martin now making his way towards the line. 5/10 up is the Dutchman. He's put it into P8 as Steve World Gamer then, so he's popped himself inside the top 10, but we've got more drivers yet to cross the line to complete their final flying lap. Then Leo 1/10 up in the last sector, DRS enabled for him. Let's see where he goes then, as Jasper up into P7 in the Haas. Here comes Leo coming across the line now, P7, good job there from him. Nelly Safu, the next man to cross the line, he goes in the pit lane. He believes his time is not good enough, but we've got another driver across the line next, and we'll see who that is. Goes into the pit lane. There's a Ferrari of Resify, I think it is. Gets a lovely toe, 9/10 up in the last sector. What can he do? P9 for him. But his teammate gave him his teammate gave him a lovely slipstream down that straight, so definitely gave him more time. But we've got a Haas now making his way towards the line. That's Bonpierre, unfortunately having a difficult qualifying in P18. Kenny, the hero, goes up into P13 for him in the Mercedes. He qualified outside the top 10 in the Dutch Grand Prix, but came home to finish in P4 then. So can he replicate that heading into this race? But there is then CPI Troye, absolutely flying this season. And he's up into P1, taking pole position away from Tony, our championship leader in P2. Jerome Visser, good qualifying from him in P3. QRT Leroy in P4, 2/10 clear of Isak Kush in P5. Julian, we haven't mentioned at all, is up into P6 ahead of Leo. Jasper in P8, Resified P9. And those IRT drivers there inside the top 10. AJ rounds off the top 10. C P11 just outside of it. O'Reilly in there. Unlucky to him, didn't really seems like he couldn't really hook it up. It's a 39.6 for him in P12. Kenny in P13, Nathan P14, Nelly Safu outqualifies his teammate And there is the grid then set for the race. Could be an interesting race this is. Troye there taking the victory at the Dutch Grand Prix. Can he do it here in Baku? We're about to find out, Stevan.
Indeed, indeed. I must add, that was the best slipstream Troy could have given to his teammate. That was absolutely lovely. They timed it to perfection. Reservoir got the perfect slipstream. Didn't have to move to the right or left to overtake Troy. They could just stick within one line and have the best slipstream. Reservoir was about 9 tenths up and did gain about 3 tenths from that slipstream alone. And with the midfield being so close, that would have been around P13, P12 if he didn't get that slipstream. So Reservoir has to thank his teammate a lot who didn't have to do that, or could have just done one more lap and just give him a slipstream. So that's a good job there. But the race is going to be very different since, of course, qualifying is very different to the race. So cars have to be clean. If you break your front wing, you can't just go into the pits, go again. No, you're gonna lose a lot of race time because of it. So the race is gonna be very different, I reckon.
That's the safety cars changing the strategy around, changing the trajectory of the race. I presume people go harsh to mediums like the strategy always is, but safety car can mix things up, and we're about to find out in the next few laps of this race. Chaotic race back in Tier 3. Will it be the same here in Tier 1? Tier 1, sorry. Good etiquette is needed in these races to ensure the sportsmanship and respect in league racing and racing overall, so hopefully those drivers will show racing etiquette as the session is about to start in a few seconds time then for the race. And we'll see what action is provided for us tonight's entertainment. Nice and sunny, unlike here in England where it was so cold, snowing. Unfortunately here in March at this time of the year. Probably the same in Netherlands as well.
It actually was. I went to my internship and it was actually snowing. So the weather around the world is very interesting to say the least. So I'm happy the drivers have clean and sunny conditions for this race here. Also, it shouldn't be supposed to be snowing in March, so that's interesting to say the least. But this weather won't be staying for long here. But let's focus on the race now, as the drivers are preparing for their outlaps here. Let me quickly get the telemetry up and of course the tires on. The top 7 are on the hard tires, 8th till 10th are on the medium, so they're gonna try to gain time on early on, and if there's an early safety car they can just switch over to the hard tires, go to the end, as we have a spinner, Evans Joshua, another spinner, and he shouldn't reset the track throughout the race because that could be a penalty. I'm certain someone in the race will report him for resetting the track on the formation lap. Would be shithousery and funny at the same time, so let's see about that. But Josh is on the medium, same for Bumpy who qualified in 18. Pole qualifying for him, basically qualifying last since Wouter and Liam didn't complete a lap here. So it's going to be interesting with the alternative strategies here today.
Bompia, our last week's podium setter in P3 then, will have a lot to work down to in P18 there, so let's see what he can do. Wouter as well, I'm going to be very intrigued to see how he makes his way up through the field then. Obviously some people splitting their strategies, going for mediums to try and get a better start and change their strategy, because if everyone's on the hard tyres, it'll be the same strategy for everybody. No one can make any places up unless they get a really good first lap. But we'll see then as all the drivers making their way through the final sector, and it's going to be very interesting then. Will Tony try and take Troye in the first corner? Will Javunvas get a good start off the line? We're about to find out then. Ferrari on pole, like it was in Monaco, but with the other driver on reservoir in P9, and both Ferraris changing strategies like they did in Monaco. One went on medium, one went on hard, and will it pay off for them this time? Both swapped positions back at the Monaco Grand Prix because I think reservoir was on the mediums and Troye was on the hards, or vice versa, and they worked well together. But unfortunately Reservoir broke his end play, that's why he pitted so early and unfortunately couldn't win or take a podium in that race. But Troye then looks in good form this season, really does. Needs to improve on his racing craft a little bit in terms of like battles with other people. You know, he can get a bit hot-headed, but it was a bit of lag as well, to be fair to him. But everyone's lined up on the grid, and we're going to wait for the 5 lights to go out then for the 26 lap race here for Tier 1 at the Baku Grand Prix. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are underway for the Baku Grand Prix then. Let's see who gets a better start off the line. Troy gets a decent start ahead of Tony as he tries to make a challenge into turn 1. There's an Alpha Romeo of Leroy trying to go down the inside of Jeroen Buzzer as they make their way cleanly coming out of turn 1. Heading into turn 2 now. Leroy has the inside line. Jeroen, he slides into the wall. He lost the rear end. And that is race then. Could potentially be almost done because he might have lost his end plate. But here comes Tony then, challenging Troy for the lead of the race. As we make our way down into turn 3, who will yield? No one will. I think Tony's taking the lead. Nice move there from Tony to get him into P1 and ahead of Troy then. Leroy in P3 ahead of Isak Kush then as Jeroen then, where is he? He's down into P10, so not a good start for him as somebody's lost traction coming out of turn number 5 there. That was a hash driver of Jasper who's lost a mighty quite of positions there, unfortunately. He's also on the medium compound tyres, but look at that, Troy has taken back the lead of the race and he's ahead of Pyro then, so somewhere out of that corner got better exit and managed to get him. Here comes Julian on the LP, but LP goes back down the inside, makes contact with the wall. And through goes the Williams. Julian's there losing traction, and we got an Alpine, another Alpine, making contact once again then. As we can see there, AJ has got past Leo as he lost traction coming out of the castle section. And here comes Leo because AJ overtook him off the track. I thought he did, but he hits the back of him. And he lost his own plate too. Chaos going on in the first opening lap of this race there, and they could see a massive gap forming now in the midfield as the leaders will pull away from this race. Julian's lost traction on the curb and into the wall goes the Alpina Leo, and he's out of this race on lap 1 as he also lost traction there. And thankfully a virtual or safety cars came out to slow things down because that was a chaotic first opening lap of this race.
Certainly, as I don't think Julian and Leo will be friends after this race, since Julian went down the inside after the castle section, made contact with Leo, who then got squeezed into the wall there, where he got his damage from, and then both drivers went side by side into the next corner and again made contact, which led to a DNF from Leo. So I'm certain that there will be penalties heading Julian's way, because he did make some mistakes there, making contact with Leo there. So Rebel driver has to do it on track to gain as much time, to not get affected by post-race penalties here. Shame for Jeroen, who just can't catch a break at the moment with the amount of incidents he has. He got clipped by the back of Isak Kush, who's now on P4, got damage on the exit of turn 2. So yeah, quite unfortunate for him, but he's still in the race, has got a new front wing, and hopefully can go as we have green flags.
Joshua caught up into the safety car restart. They're going side by side, but I think Joshua has to back out of this because you don't want to go too wide into the castle section. And Walter, what a fantastic virtual safety car restart that was from the Dutchman, paying fully attention, caught Joshua napping and pinned his way up into P6 then, got on the throttle straight away as Joshua there slow to react, and Walter was able to get alongside him, and thankfully Joshua was wise not to fight him down the inside of the castle section because that would have ended badly. It all started off at the castle section on the first lap because Leo went down the inside, hit the wall, lost his end plate, and that's when we had a domino effect of all the drivers all hitting the back of each other. But Joshua is under massive pressure here from the hash driver of Jasper, who's rising this slipstream then. It's going to be ready to pull out, and look at Tony is right behind Troy. I want to keep an eye on these two because they're going to go at it the whole race. They've got the track to themselves. Jasper has overtaken. They're going side by side now. Jasper set the fastest lap of the race with the help of the virtual safety car. Jasper might go a bit deep into turn 1. Joshua did get into the best of exits. You can see a lot of wheel spin from the Red Bull, who goes back down the inside. Jasper needs to give more room and unfortunately made contact, and that's a shame to see because that looks like it could be a really good battle, but Jasper needs to give a bit more room. Or does Joshua, optimistic, go down the inside? But however, there's an Aston Martin, Sieb, who takes advantage of Jasper there. Sieb gets on the curb and he outbroke himself, but thankfully he didn't hit the wall. But talk about outbreak himself, there's a McLaren of Nelly Safu who replicated that's Jet. In fact, Jet this time has gone off into the runoff area, outbroke himself like his teammate did in qualifying, and both McLarens are back together then in the race where they both qualified next to each other. But the battle for P1 between 4 drivers, Choye, Tony, Leroy and Isak Kush. Leroy in a really good position here, but he needs to be careful not to drop out the 1 second range of DRS, and Isak Kush has hit the wall. Coming out the castle section, the Aston Martin dropped the back end of the car and unfortunately lost his wing there. That's a shame for Isaac Kush because many drivers have done that in the past and that really surprised me. They really did shock me. Oh, that's a shame for Isaac Kush there. I really, he looks like he was in a really good position, but got optimistic on the throttle with his battle with Leroy there, and he'll be heading off into the pits for a brand new wing. It seems from the Aston Martin there. Can't really catch a break in Isaac Kush. He's a really quick driver, we all know it, but unfortunately sustains bad luck in races. So the top three are left alone to fight in this race because, as you can see, the gap between P3 and P4 is 5.8 seconds, and thanks to the first lap battle, that's why the gap is so big. If you were with us on the first lap, you might want to go back to it, as it was chaotic, hence why there was a big gap between P3 and P4. But Leroy there gets ever so dangerously close to dropping outside the 1 second range of DRS. He needs to stay on it because he's got a really good chance of potentially fighting with the top two in this race.
Indeed, indeed. Of course, you mentioned in qualifying that the race will be very different. And we see a lot of drivers making mistakes here, just running wide, going the exit, as we see a moment there going, Jamie.
Yeah, Joshua, he went wide going into turn number 3. I wonder if he's got full wing damage, because I think he's going, yeah, he has got full wing damage. He's lost his right end plate, has the Red Bull driver, so that's why all these guys behind him are bunched up right together. So you've got to be very careful, especially here, because they're carrying different speeds. He's got to react very quickly if Joshua does go wide into corners. He can't. If Joshua crashes into the castle section, that'll lead. That'll be a massive effect there, domino effect of him, of every car behind him crashed into him, because if one driver crashes the castle section, that will lead to a massive pile up as Nathan there gets a better exit than Sieb, and he goes alongside him now as they continue their battle all the way down into turn number 16 there, and Nathan moves up into P7 there. So Sieb, however, had a really bad exit out of the castle section.
Jamie can confirm Joshua has got front wing damage. His right end plate is gone on the Red Bull here, so he's gonna create a massive pile-up. He's losing leaps of time to Wouter, who's now in P5 here. So that's what we were mentioning. Wouter starting in P18 is now in P5 in only 5 laps. So that's how quickly things can change here. But Evan Joshua on the medium tires has got to think about his strategy if it's gonna stay out and go for go pit for a new front wing here. It's really interesting to see what Josh is gonna do, but he's gonna hold up every car behind, with in the train being Nathan, Sieb, Liam, and Bumpy now.
You can see him lose the back end of the car as Nathan then is poised to go on the attack now, pulling to the right hand side, and he moves himself up into P6 there. Joshua reluctant to fight back with that front wing damage. Obviously he don't want to outbrake himself because he's already sustaining the lack of downforce with that broken end plate, and now Sieb, you can see Nathan up into P6. They'll be frustrated that he didn't get past Joshua, otherwise he could move up the field, but he's down as P8, so he'll be desperate to get past Joshua so he could continue his fight between himself and Nathan and the rest of the cars behind. He can't afford to stay behind because the longer Josh stays in front of him, more chance Nathan will pull away and break the DRS. Therefore Sieb will lose that DRS connection towards Nathan then, so he's going to get past him as quickly as he can and make sure to get a hold behind him. That's his race with Nathan for the time being, unless anything major happens with the safety car. But there's a Haas in the background there going deep into the castle section, the exit of it, and luckily didn't hit the wall. But he's on the medium compound tyres, is Bompier, so he'll be capitalising them and trying to make the most of it before his first pit stop is on his way. But yeah, the race between the top two got the track to themselves. Leroy is dropped out the 1 second range of DRS. Jasper going off down at turn number 3 there, and Tony is ever so close now between the battle itself. And QRT Leroy is in the pit lane. Did he sustain any full wind damage, I wonder? Because that's an early pit stop being on the hard compound tyre. It's got to be full wind damage for sure. And that might explain why he's lost some pace in that Alfa Romeo. Can't keep up to the top two. I can't really see from this camera angle because I'm on board with the Williams crew. He's still on board. I think that's a definite front wing change, do you think?
He hasn't.
No?
He hasn't pitted for a new front wing. He's down in P10 now, but he's got a new set fresh medium tyres here. So interesting to see this strategy, since it's a normal hard to medium strategy around Baku and pretty much around every track here. But it looks like Leroy is going for a 2-stop here, trying to undercut on the top 2 here to see if he's got any pace advantage here. So we're gonna watch Leroy's progress here. doesn't seem to have any front wing damage since he's catching up to Evans quite easily and Bumpy at the same time. So let's watch Leroy's progress here.
From what I heard from the pit stop, it sounded like it was a quick pit stop, so I don't think, like you said, there was no front wing change. But that's an interesting one because the strategy is halves to mediums, and if he's going for a 2-stop, he'll be very quick because he has a brand new set of mediums in his disposal and he can use them once again in the race. But if safety car came out now, then he'll be in a bad position because he's stuck behind these cars and he's got to make a lot of progress negotiating his way through these cars on, well, not old tyres, but older tyres than him. So, yeah, like you said, watch out for Leroy. And once he gets up to the back of these cars, he's got to pass them as quickly as he can to make sure he doesn't lose too much time between himself and Tony. But yeah, it's going to be interesting there. Will Tony respond and Troye? But talk about those two. Tony has dropped out the 1 second range of DRS as Josh gets scribbly on the exit. Lee will be all over the back of him with the difference in speed. He's got to be very careful not to hit the back of him because Joshua will be struggling in the high-speed corners and having more staying input than he would have wanted in those corners. And QRT Leroy then already alongside him before the DRS opens, and there is the DRS then opens for him, and he's back in the pit lane. What is he doing? What's going on?
Then he must have front wing damage. Then he surely must have front wing damage because you wouldn't pit 2 times in a row. So horrible news for Leroy. Was in the top 3 here and now all the way down. Gonna be battling for P18 with Recify here, so horrible news for Leroy here, as Bumpy is gonna rejoin just ahead of him, and they did change the wing right now, so must have picked up slight damage. He probably should have done the same as Evans here, as oh my god, the Mercedes lose the back end out on the exit of turn 1 here, so Leroy's got hope for safety car now to come back in this race.
Let's talk about the unfortunate races Leroy has suffered this season, and once again Leroy, it's just, he's got some good pace as the Irish driver, but just can't quite get it together, can't quite puzzle it together to try and get a good result out of it. Unfortunately for him, he just keeps making little too mistakes does the Irish driver, and I don't think that was his fault. Well, he lost his end plate, but I don't think Maybe he did opt to go for new front wing on his first pit stop, but the team didn't change it due to a glitch or something. Maybe he didn't change it himself. Maybe the damage wasn't, well, maybe the damage wasn't as big as he thought it was. And Evans Joshua's retired, and where is that? Will that trigger a safety car? That's in the middle of the road there, and I think a safety car. No, it's a VSC.
VSC's out, unfortunately. So Evans, with that damage, has just run too wide or lost the car on the exit, and is now out of the race. Horrible seasons of Joshua, who has just not got the results he wanted and hasn't been fighting near the front like a couple of seasons ago or earlier in the season. So hopefully he can turn around sooner rather than later. But this has brought up the VSC. No one reacting to the VSC, so everyone's sticking on their main strategy here. Jeroen back up to P10 here, of course, as the cars are of course crashing out here left, right and center, but he's still in the mix now to get some good points here. He is quite a way off the top 5, but he still should be able to get a good result as we have green flag racing for him.
I just want to mention a certain Dutchman in P3. What a fantastic drive from him in P3. And Jet has got a bad exit, and Jeroen is able to take advantage of that immediately. He was all over the back of him when the virtual safety car ended. But what a fantastic drive there for Walter. 8 laps in, P18 to P3. That's just incredible. Avoiding the first lap chaos, keeping out of it, of course. And look where it's put him in P3. That's what cleaner consistency can get you, and proven by the Dutch driver. And Liam has got past Sieb, so Sieb must look like he made another mistake, because that's an odd place to overtake, because we saw those two come out of the castle section. So Sieb there must have lost traction somewhere in that castle section and has enabled Liam to go up into P6 there. But yeah, also a few laps before, Walter got past Aurelian. I'm not quite sure if Aurelian made a mistake coming out the corners or they go side by side, but however, Walter's got some decent pace. That qualifying ban hasn't phased him or hasn't disrupted him whatsoever, and he's put him on the podium. Isak Kush has overtaken AJ for P11. But yeah, this race then, chaotic as the Baku Grand Prix is always is showing. Few people sustaining full wind damage, even the guys at the top there. But Jeroen are now right behind the second McLaren driver, Nelly Safu. Nelly Safu, however, inside the top 10. He scored points at the Dutch Grand Prix, finished outside the top 10 last week, and he's currently there again with both McLarens inside the top 10. Jet also finished P5, I think, at the Dutch GP, so it's going well for McLaren. Keep an eye on them. We'll see what they do later on in the race. But yeah, Jet, with a desperate boost he needed to get a good result back at the Dutch Grand Prix, inside the top 10, and both McLarens then on their way. Well, we've still got a long way to go in this race, so we might never know what will happen. But yeah, further on in the field, Chioti, Leroy P16, Rezify and Jasper and Bompier not really going well for them whatsoever. They just, yeah, never went from the get-go for those guys. Just couldn't really get it together, unfortunately, for them. But yeah, Tony looks like he can't get himself in the DRS range. He did a few laps ago, but I dare say he must have made a mistake somewhere on. Well, there's a yellow flag, and that's a McLaren. No, Jet's fallen down the order, and luckily for him, hasn't lost his wheel. Did he lose an end plate? No. So I think he just lost traction. Now he's just allowed 4 cars to go past him, and they move themselves up 1 place further thanks to Jet's mistake. But yeah, can he recover from there, I wonder. We'll see. But yeah, big gaps. Not really what I expected in this race, as Jasper has already been lapped by Wouter. So unfortunately for the Dutchman, won't be able to unlap himself from there. Even if a safety car does come out, the game doesn't allow to unlap yourself, which is a shame really. But it is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, not much going on in this race as I thought it would be. Yeah, it did spice up in the first few laps. Wouter made a mistake, and I think he might get distracted by the ghost of Jasper there. So I really hope Jasper doesn't make any distractions there for Wouter, because he might misjudge his braking zone, or might go deep into places, or hit the wall due to his vision fading from the corners. But hopefully the Haas pulls away or drops behind, because having a ghostly car in front of you will lose. Well, just lose your eye line in the corners, really. But C4 Gamer that has pitted off the hard and onto the medium, he goes then. Looks like a front wing change from the Aston Martin as well. And he rejoins in P14 then. And he'll be hoping for a safety car as well, as Julian is right behind. AJ has overtaken him, and he moves himself up into P10 then. The Red Bull driver on his debut here for CRL, but is AJ able to fight back? No, he's not, so we'll stay in P11 for the time being. And the battle for P3 then might continue, because O'Reilly is right behind Wouter, and we're about to see then the battle continue between those two, like they did in the French Grand Prix where Wouter came out on top. O'Reilly there arguably should have been, well, the battle was close between O'Reilly and Troye for the win of the Dutch Grand Prix. Any of those two could have came out on top, but O'Reilly there, after being crashed out by Troye lagging, and yeah, so it's been lucky for him this season. My voice is going, but
indeed, so I'll take over from here now. Wouter, we're gonna maintain the gap between him and Wouter. Wouter's interestingly winning the 1 second window of Jasper here, so he gets the DRS here. And Tony and Troy don't have DRS since they're 2 seconds apart from each other, but this will gain Wouter a huge amount of time. Wouter is very low on ERS, like literally 0%. Pretty much, but this will gain about some time, and Aurelian is following close behind as well. So Wouter slowly but surely closing the gap to Tony and Troye here, who are of course in clean air. Nathan is in his own race pretty much, a second ahead of Liam here, who's doing a solid, decent race as well, just in P6 for the Alfa Romeo driver. Hasn't had the greatest season so far, but driving a good race here, and hopefully he can maintain this performance. But of course they have Jeroen catching up to them, who qualified in the top 3 here, and is always one to look out for at all times here. Nilu Safu in P8, haven't really seen much of him, but he's putting in a good performance in P8 for the McLaren team ahead of his teammate. He will have the fresh medium tires at the end of the race, compared to others being on the medium or on the hard tires at the end of the race. So we're gonna see. Apparently we're gonna see Nilu and Jeroen crashing soon. You never know what's gonna happen around Baku, as Jeroen had a really good tank slapper right there. Saved the car nicely and carries on his momentum here. As you have yellow flags, it's the McLaren of Jet. The Jet has crashed in the castle section. You have to be aware around the castle or on the street circuit, Julian Palmer said, and Jet doesn't seem to be very aware around the street circuit. Lost his front wing and will lose quite a heap of time, since he will be then battling with Kenny, who's also crashed out and lost his front wing, the Mercedes driver. He's gonna be down with Resify and Bumpy now, who are both battling for P16 here. So we're gonna see some crash right now, as people are starting to make their their pit stops now.
I think really oh, sorry about that. There's an AlphaTauri who's gone off at turn number 1, and is that Jeroen? Yeah, it is. He's made a mistake coming out turn number 1, and that's allowed Nelly Safu to gain a place. Looks like he's avoided the walls though, because he hasn't sustained any from wind damage, unless it's very light, of course. So Jeroen made a mistake at turn 2 on the first lap, but you said he got clipped by Isa Kush, which I didn't see. I thought he lost the rear end of the back end of the rear car, because obviously you can see he had a low downforce setup with the straight line speed he had, and him oversteering every corner he exited. But Jeroen there suffered again, and he's dropped himself into P8. But let's see if we can find Alyssa Fu, as Kenny, the hero, unfortunately has retired in the pit lane. So from hero to 0 from Kenny, as Liam Nathan's been overtaken. What's happened to him then? Liam's moved up to P5, and Nathan, you said he had a quiet race, and now something major and disastrous happened to him. And it looks like he's got away from wind damage too.
I think he's nearly broke his front wing, he's losing quite a lot of time, or might have half a spun, drop behind Liam, and just trying to get his tire temperatures under the right window again, so he can maintain his gap. And he's actually fully crashed out now, and this will bring out the safety car, I reckon. And it has. Unfortunately, Nathan crashing out here on lap 12 here brings out the safety car. So this is good news for other drivers. And we straight away see Tony, Wouter and Aurelian reacting to a pit stop. It is horrible news for Troy here, who has was actually not that bad, but of course he has not pitted because he went past the pits when the others pitted. So this has really spiced up the race now, as we see everyone pitting, as Jamie is coughing quite a bit. Hopefully he survives, as we don't want to lose you, Jamie. But we see other cars pitting now for a fresh set of tires. If people pitted or picked 2 sets of medium tires, they can go on fresh mediums and go to the end of the Grand Prix here. But this will really spice up the grid again. This is good news for Jasper, as he can now unlap himself if Troye pits next lap. So this is going to be an exciting end to the Grand Prix again, as people will save up ERS, and we saw in Tier 2 that restarts are chaos around here.
Oh yeah, indeed. You should have saw Tier 3 where 2 drivers went side by side like Max Verstappen did on Lewis Hamilton back in 2021 in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but instead of going line astern, they actually went side by side on the safety car restart, and one of them lost traction because they were both eager and optimistic to get on the throttle, and unfortunately lost traction. Those two, if they are watching, they know what I'm talking about, but obviously I don't want to mention their names. You probably saw it in Tier 3, and one of them moved up and the other one retired despite being on the podium throughout the whole race. Yeah, so we'll see what happens at the safety car restart. Interestingly, Liam has stayed out there on the old hard to be exposed and vulnerable to those medium runners right behind him then, so we can be very careful about that, but very wary. But it's no brainer, of course, to pit onto the medium compound tyres. He goes, is Troye. I tell you what would have been worse for him if the safety car was right in front of him, if he stayed out there, because he was looking at the safety car wasn't there. Otherwise he'll catch up to it and lose a lot of time, and therefore the guys behind would have jumped him. But luckily the safety car wasn't there, as Liam is off into the pit lane then, so it must have been a late call for Liam, unless he was crossed the line already, but it couldn't have been because Tony and Co have pitted ahead of him. So looks like it was a late call from Liam there. But yeah, brings Leroy back in the race after sustaining from wind damage. Started P3. He's on the older medium compound tyres, of course, so might be struggling in comparison to the rest of them. But majority of drivers are brand new tyres, including the hards for Jeroen there, maybe use the mediums as well. Maybe he might switch on to the mediums unless he's used both sets already, as we've seen him make a few mistakes there. But Leroy will join, let's see, behind the Alpine of, or Williams of AJ. Seems too far further back to get him or jump him. Julian and Nelly Safu, they're swapping places. I'm not quite sure what's happening there with those two. Where is Nelly Safu? He's outbroke himself into turn number 1. Wow. And he's lost 3 places because Leroy would have got him if he didn't do that. So Nelly Safu there went from P8 to P11. Nelly Safu there could be very careful, but could be paying attention as well all times because he's just lost 3 positions there. Both McLarens suffering, and what's happening between Jeroen and Julian? Those swap places, and Jeroen looks like he's dropped further back. So yeah, things are going on under the safety car.
Could we maybe have a desync issue again if Julian, because if the 2 cars overtake each other, or if Julian overtook him under the safety car, it could be down to desync. I'm not too sure. We should be aware of it. Jeroen was in P7, now in P8. Interestingly, everyone's on the medium tires, and Jeroen is on the hard tires. So if the cars ahead, mediums, do fall off at the end of the race, then Jeroen can use those fresh hard tires at the moment to full effect. Since of course the hard tires will be better later on, as I'm talking Dutch whilst in an international stream. I do apologize for that. But if Jeroen can use those fresh tires to full effect and keep it clean, then he could be on for another good result, which he could use.
Yeah, funny enough, despite safety car being out for 2 laps now, some drivers haven't even caught up, and you can see in the foreground or background there that Jasper, yeah, Julian's right behind Julian, telling him to get a move on there, but you can see Jasper there might not be able to catch up as Juventus then wants to go in the pit lane to go onto a brand new set of the medium compounds, then get the hards out of the way and go on the mediums, because I think he was doing his mandatory hard to medium strategy, or mediums to hards, so he could go back on the medium compound tyres and take them to the end, because I don't think he wants to be on the hards versus medium runners around him. So he'll go on the medium compound tyres and complete the end of the race with them. So that's why he went on the hards for 1 lap or so, and he will rejoin down in P12 well ahead of Jet. Bompier, Svezify and Jasper need to all catch up because they're quite far behind, so yeah, they're not having good races. But stay tuned everyone, safety cars brought the field back together. Choye's lead has been wiped out. Wouter and O'Reilly there are bunched up right behind him then. Wouter, the man who started down in P18, is up into P3 then, so good opportunity. If he wins this race from P18 to P1, he'll be fascinated with that. He'll be satisfied after a fantastic drive. Avoiding the first lap chaos. If you weren't with us in the first lap, go watch that, because that's what happened. That's what caused the field spread, and could cause a lot of drama and chaos as well. But now the field has been bunched up, we're about to see some more action as Jasper is on the other side of the track.
Jasper really struggling this race. I saw him just losing the back end in the final corner here, and he's still very way off. I don't think even think Restify will catch up, despite the cars going slowly. As I do think the safety car will come in this lap, since it stayed out for 3 laps already. But I don't think Restify will catch up. Boompje will for sure. He is already quite close to the cars ahead, so it's just down to Restify, hopefully able to catch up. But I don't think Jasper will catch up to the safety car here. Will it come in this lap? We're about to find out. The message has not come up yet, so it could be good news for Jasper, who might be able to catch up to the back of the field once again. He did get lap, but due to him staying out and Troy pitting, managed to unlap himself, and now able to catch up. And it looks like the safety car is staying out for another lap here, so this is good news for the cars at the bottom here. Go on, Jamie, what are you laughing about?
I just saw these cars on the straight, and I just see Jasper on the other side of the track. He's not even caught up. Bless him. Jasper's got a lot of work to do, and he's taking a lot of life out of his tyres, desperately trying to catch up to the pack. But if he does catch up, his tyres will be very warm for sure. Might get a good safety car restart, but he's lucky that's 1 lap is extra, because I dare say he will get to the back of the field. The rest of the will for sure now, because he's on the straight. The last car before him is at a turn number 1. But Jasper then hopefully could catch up, because seeing him on the other side of the track while safety cars out, him go flat out and the rest going slow, it's not funny really, but yeah.
Well, it's gonna be interesting. Well, the advantage for him is the cars behind the safety car will have colder tires despite the sun being out. They'll have struggled to warm up the tires, whilst Jasper's tires are gonna be in a good range of temperature, so he's gonna have a good safety car restart. if he can catch up on time, which he for sure will. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see everyone just warming up the tires on the medium tires. Uh, I just gave an explanation to Jeroen staying out on the hard tires. It may be better for later on in the race, but he did pit. But he's still on P12, so he can easily gain those positions again, as he will have 2 laps fresh tires than pretty much everyone here. The only runner on the hard tires is currently Boompje, so he's gonna have a difficult task to get some good points here today, but you never know for the Baku Azerbaijan Grand Prix, since safety car restarts will always be chaotic, and I'm certain it will be now as well.
The safety car's been very long, longest safety car we've had, but hopefully it will come in at the end of this lap, which it should do. But yeah, Jasper, all the field then is with each other after a massive field spread at lap 1, where we had a lot of chaos down at the castle section, where it all unfolded down there after drivers eager to get a move on and overtaking each other without thinking about the long-term effects and consequences. But safety car CPI Troye then will be the safety car, allowing them to pull away. And let's see then, is Tony on his knees to try and get on his oh, I said that wrong. It's Tony then. I can't even speak now, I can't even think of what I'm saying, but yeah, we'll figure it out. And Jasper's retired, he's crashed, done a Roman Grosjean somewhere on the track in the Haas there, but Tony then has to be on his toes to try and get past Troye. But looks like Troy's got a good safety car restart now. He's able to pull away without being threatened into turn number 1. He would go into T1. No! Tony almost hit the back of Troy, and he almost lost the car too, for good measure, as AJ has overtaken Julian there for P7. As we see a few cars then going side by side into turn number 1, we see the McLaren and AlphaTauri there getting so close, but Giroux got tagged there from the McLaren driver right behind him. That was Jets, who tried to go down the inside but couldn't quite make it stick, as the Alfa Romeo outbrakes himself but still makes the corner. That was so close as he tried to outbrake Isak Kush, but Isak Kush sticks him on the outside, has the inside for the next corner there, and he gets past Liam there. Good move there from the Isak Kush in the Aston Martin, getting past Liam. And now he's be exposed to AJ right behind us. Tony has lost time towards Troye. Then 1 second is the gap already between those two. Wouter will be all over the back of Troye if he can't get himself back in the DRS range. QRT Leroy then has overtaken the Red Bull. We see the Aston Martin going down the inside of the AlphaTauri, putting pressure on the McLaren. But Tony's out of the race. He's crashed in the castle section. He is out of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, our championship leader. After fighting Troye majority of the race, has unfortunately brought out another safety car. That's unfortunate there. That's a shame. Massive twist in the championship. But look at Wouter. He's got no full wing. Those two must have made contact unless Wouter hit the back of Tony's crash car. That's probably why he's got damage from wing. Unfortunately, being collected, it must seem. But Wouter, after starting P18 in this race, has lost his front wing and will be dropping towards the back of the field there. I don't think those two made contact. I think Tony lost it by himself and Wouter was just there to collect the pieces after that. And Wouter then will be making his way back in the pit lane, and Aurelian and Isak Kush will up to P2 and P3. Wow, what a change in this race.
Indeed. As Wouter's actually heading into the pits. Wait, he's got a front wing? Or wait, yeah, he's finishing front wing. Wouter is. So he was in P2 and you were just hyping up him, Jamie, but he's all the way down in P12 right now. Yes, he's on the fresh medium tires here, but this is disaster for him since he was all the way so high up in the standings right now. So that's horrible news for him. Recify and Boompje are both pitted for the soft tires, so they're going to be going really quickly in the beginning of the race here, but this means we only have 14 cars left as the championship leader Tony is out of the race here. So this is a massive opportunity for Aurelian and Troy, who are first and second, to gain a heap of points on Tony here. Let me check the points total, what the difference was. Let me quickly bring it up. Standings tier 1. The gap was about 39 points after Zandvoort, and Aurelian in second has got a massive opportunity, and the guy in third, Troye, is 41 points off. So Tony should be looking scared now as the close two runners are gonna gain a heap of points if it stays the way it is.
Unbelievable there, as two drivers have elected the soft compound tyres then, and will be quicker towards the end of the race. How much positions can those two make? Bompier and Reservoir, as spent most of the time at the back, unfortunately for them, not having the pace to compete with the guys ahead, but they're on the soft compound tyres, and how long will they last before they start to wear out as they have caught up the field then? So the safety car should be in very, very soon, as all the field are bunched up once again, and Troye there kept a cool head throughout the whole of the race. But Tony, being in P2 for the majority of the whole of the race, and somehow lost it in the castle session. I'm not quite sure. Maybe that mistake into turn 1 probably phased him and dented his confidence, and heading into the castle session there under massive pressure from the guys behind of Walter, probably pushing too hard to try keeping the DRS range, maybe misjudging his turning and braking points, and the safety car will stay out for 1 lap longer, and that's put a massive dent in the championship. And O'Reilly will take advantage of that, because O'Reilly was out of the race, and that's where Tony gained a whole bunch of points on O'Reilly. Now it's swung in the favour. The pendulum has swung toward O'Reilly's way, who's going to take back all the points he lost at the Dutch Grand Prix. Now he's going to claim them all again off Tony here in Baku. What a contrast it's been in this race for those two. Last race, Tony took advantage of the points. This race is O'Reilly. And Troye, the man in P3 the championship, will, if he finishes like this, he'll be finished. I just want to apologise for my coughing fit this race, and still ill, unfortunately. I'll try and sort it out next week. That's why I'm struggling with the words I'm saying. Can't really get it all together, but I'll try my best the next couple of few weeks. So apologies for the coughing in the stream. I do want to say a massive sorry for that, because I know it's been quite annoying for you to watch, hearing me cough, but it's annoying for me too. But if Troye wins this race, he'll be 11 points behind Tony in the championship. If he wins this race, Troye, he'll overtake O'Reilly if it stays like this, so he'll move up into P2. O'Reilly, however, if he wins this race, he'll be 9 points behind Troye, so it's close between those guys. Leo in P4 won't get any points, being in last place and retired out the race. Bompier in P5. Walter, who could have gained a whole bunch of points in this race, still can, by the way, down in P13, depending if he's got the pace to overtake those guys in P6. In fact, Leo and Bompier are tied with points, so Bompier, if it stays like this, will get ahead of Leo for P4 in the championship. Kenny in P7, Isaac Kush P8 on the podium so far, so if he stays like this for Isaac Kush, he might find himself moving up the field quite a lot. AJP9, Steve P10, Jeroen outside the top 10 in the championship, Liam in P12, Versified P13, Carl, who is not racing tonight as the safety car then, is in the pit lane. And will O'Reilly then, can he get the jump he wants on Troye? Troye kept it cool in the safety car, got the perfect restart, didn't get threatened into turn number 1, has got to repeat it again down at the first corner on the second safety car restart. O'Reilly, let's see if he pays attention to when Troye will decide to go. And let's see what happens down at turn number 1 then. Will there be more drama down into turn number 1? Tony unfortunately outbroke himself as Isaac Kush makes contact with the wall there, coming out of the turn 18, I think it was. Hopefully he hasn't lost his own play there. But off Troye goes then. Good safety car restart. Good reaction there from the Swedish driver. As O'Reilly then in P2, not able to respond into turn number 1. But there's action going down into turn number 1 there. We can see Nelly Safu once again outbreaking himself. As you can see, Isaac Kush there moves up into P2. I think O'Reilly might have outbroke himself. Lost traction coming out of turn number 1. It's the Aston Martin going down the inside of the Red Bull there. They're going side by side coming out of turn number 2 as the Red Bull gets much better traction with Giroud right behind, taking advantage of the Aston Martin. Now in the slipstream going into turn number 3. Siege still on the inside. Will he take 2 for 1? He'll try to take Giroud, trying to reclaim that gate place back. He lost off Giroud, but Giroud there takes P8 away from C4 Gamer as down the inside go Jet on C, but C has the outside line, much better traction, and can be under pressure now from Bompier on those soft compound tyres, going side by side then into turn 6 and turn 7. Jet on the inside line, they both make side contact as Bompier moves up into P10, and here comes the Mercedes and Walter then. Gets the run on Jet, but Jet trying to stick him around the outside then. They go side by side, going out of turn number 7, going into turn number 8, but Walter then, better traction, moves moves up into P11 then, so a few positions gained. Jet, however, has lost a few, and Nelly Safu is out of the race then, so he made further contact somewhere on the first lap of the safety car restart there, but Javoon is right behind the Red Bull of Julian, and Julian in P7 on his first appearance here in CRL, and Javoon is putting massive pressure on the AlphaTauri. The Mercedes there pulling out to go along the outside of Bompier. There he is then, I meant to say alongside, but Bompier gets put on the curb and unfortunately doesn't get on the throttle as quickly as he wants to. And he's lost the place towards Walter, despite being on soft compound tyres. But here comes Shavuva then with the ERS. Look at the straight line speed he has on the Red Bull. They're going side by side now, but without the DRS, Shavuva gets past him. Had a much better run coming out of turn 16, tucked in the slipstream. But will Julian fight back under braking into turn 1? No, he won't.
Indeed. Jeroen already up to P7 here after overtaking Siep and Julian here, and he does have 2 lap fresh tyres, so he can really use that to his benefit here, as Leroy is up ahead trying to overtake AJ, who's secretly climbed his way up to P5 for the Williams team. Of course, Tony crashed out, so all the effort for tier 1 for the Williams team is on AJ, and he's doing a good job right now. He's got the podium inside, as Aurelian seems to be struggling. Does he maybe have some slight damage? He did run wide in turn 1, which led to Isaac overtaking him, and does seem to be able to pull away from the Alfa Romeo and the Williams and the other Alfa Romeo. So it's going to be interesting to see, with only 6 laps to go after this. Aurelian, of course, if he still keeps P3, that would be a good result, as he would gain points to Tony here, but would see Troy overtaking him in the standings here. So mixed emotions there for Aurelian.
Oh, what an overtake there from Walter, as he had much better traction coming out of the castle section on Sieb. Sieb, I dare say, he might have sustained a bit of front wind damage there, because the way he was turning into those corners there just didn't seem like he had the grip to go through there. Carried a lot of understeer into those corners. You can't see it evidently, might be minor green damage, but Walter already onto his next victim then, which is Julian. Here he is then, right in the slipstream of the Red Bull driver. We saw Javoon get past Julian on this particular part of the straight. We're about to see Walter do it once again, as Javoon got QRT Leroy. They're going side by side then, as DRS is enabled. Further behind, we've got Walter and Julian fighting for P8, as Walter's got past Julian, but Julian is not giving up as we go down into turn number 1 there. But Walter, late on the brakes, is able to take Julian on into turn number 1, and luckily avoids the barriers on the outside. But the Ferrari there gets off the track and onto the curb, and he loses traction, and he lost the place towards Jet there, being on the soft compound tyre. So Jet there stays ahead. He was trying to fight Jet around the outside, but that wasn't going to happen for him, and he's got another chance because Jet doesn't have DRS, where Reservoir does, using the ERS to try and get past him, and he does. Moves himself up into P12 there, does the Ferrari. And yeah, getting so close to the exit of the barriers. But Javoon are making places up then. He is right on the back of AJ. Javoon, where he sustained front wing damage on the first lap, is clawing his way back now, and might be looking very interesting on the podium with 4 laps to go. I think Troyer's got into the bag, unless he makes a mistake, of course. But Troyer, what a fantastic drive it's been for him. Much cleaner, it must be said, last time out at the Dutch Grand Prix. No disrespect to him, of course, because he did make contact with O'Reilly and taking him out of the race last time out. That was due to DC, to be fair, but this time Troyer has led all the race and hasn't looked back ever since. Not sustained, not bottled under pressure. And Javoon then is right behind AJ then, but AJ will have DRS at the back of Liam, so it'll be a big DRS train off the back of O'Reilly. Looks like he's struggling, like you said, so I'm not quite sure if he has sustained any front wind damage. But look at AJ, gets a bad exit, has oversteer coming out of the exit, and there's Javoon then pulling alongside and says, thank you very much, I'll take P5 away from you. Next target is Liam Carrack. Liam Carrack then, looking for his second podium of the season, had one early on in the season. Can he look for another one? As it's in the DRS right behind the Alpine, as we see in the background. Walter taking on Leroy, go side by side, both having the DRS then on the straight. Which one of them outbrake themselves or outbrake each other? Walter then moves up into P7.
Indeed. Wouter making really good progress on those fresh medium tyres. It's got every runner ahead with 3 laps all the tyres down here. So he still has got 4 laps to gain as many positions as he can. Because of he is, let me check, if we check the standings here, he's still in a decent position here with if we check now to tier 1, he is still in P6 here. He's 46 points off the lead, but if he can gain some points and close up to Aurelian, then as he actually just overtook AJ here with a good overtake here. It's just if he just can gain as many positions as he can, then he will close way up to Tony here and put more pressure on the Williams driver.
I see Giroud sliding through the corners at the castle session. Liam didn't get the best of X's either coming out of the castle session, which will intrigue Giroud even more. Giroud there, a really good drive from the Dutchman despite losing his... that jinxed him too early. He almost lost the car coming out of turn number 16 there. Thankfully he didn't and kept the car. Like I said, we see him using a low downforce setup, as you expect of course, but obviously with a low downforce setup you can expect him to struggle coming out the corners, having massive oversteer. But look at who's right behind him, Walter. I love it when these two get close together, because we've seen in Brazil, we've seen plenty of races this season that when these two get together it doesn't always end well. Monza Grand Prix as well, where Giroud tapped the back of Walter, but this time Walter's on the back of Giroud, but it looks like Giroud's got much better straight line speed, evidently, in comparison to everybody else. He's reaching about 345 kilometers an hour on the straight, whereas others are reaching about 340 kilometers an hour. Sieb has got past Bompier once again. They're going side by side out of the corners, because Sieb went deep into the corner, and Bompier, well, he stays behind, doesn't look to attack him into turn number 2. But once again, we're on board then with Liam. I think Liam is playing this very wisely, because he knows that if he overtakes Aurelien, well, now it will give DRS towards Aurelien and Giroud and Walter behind. But look at that, Liam's under massive pressure from Giroud, because I think Liam made a slight error coming out of turn number 5 there. And Giroud now looked like he's got much better cornering speed as well, carrying more speed in the corners than Liam. But I think Liam is playing this wisely, because, like I said, I think he knows that if he overtakes Aurelien, he's giving DRS towards Aurelien, Giroud and Walter, giving him a chance to pounce him later on in the race. But he's using DRS for his own benefit to try and keep himself in the DRS of Aurelien and keep those guys behind. But Giroud went really deep coming out of the castle session there, but it didn't look like he affected him too much. And he's still on the back of Liam then, but you can see him losing the back end of the car quite a lot in these corners with the low downforce setup he's using. I could be very careful, because Walter will take advantage of that immediately. But as we head on to lap 25 very shortly, Troye is leading with a 2.1 second gap over Isa Kush, and it's smooth sailing for Troye. Fantastic race from him so far, in massive contrast to his teammate Reservoir has been struggling all race. But here comes Giroud then. Well, Liam does have DRS then. Let's see how he's able to turn. This is the battle for the podium here, if Giroud can fight Liam. And look at that then, going side by side into turn 1 we go. Who's next on the base? They both are. But Liam has the outside line, they both make slight contact, and Giroud keeps it on the track then as we make our way down into turn number 2. Both desperate, they know the podium's on the cards, but they both make contact once again, and here comes Walter, and all three of them make contact, and they're both in the spin, and he's out of the race. This is unbelievable. Both make contact, and Walter is out of the race. Giroud there spins as well, but he is not out of the race, he's still continuing. No front wing damage to him then, as Walter tried to take both of them on as they both make contact. But this is unbelievable there. And Aurelien is on the podium ahead of Liam Carrag. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy racing. Squeezed each other into turn number 2. No room whatsoever, as it's a very tight corner. And these two, Liam and Giroud there, none of them willing to give up, because they know podiums on the cards. But it's unlikely now, as Aurelien then has got himself out of the DRS. He'll be happy that's happened, as Walter's left the session in frustration there. Started in P18, but unfortunately gone downhill after Tony crashed, because I think Walter hit the back of Tony, because Tony obviously was stationary in the corner, whereas Walter came through and probably smashed his front wing, not able to avoid it. Talk about losing the front wing. Sieb has lost it again.
Sieb indeed has lost front wing unfortunately, but Baku has caused much chaos again today in T1. As Jet has retired now from P9, he's also lost his He locked up into the corner where Stroll loves to lock up and crash out as well. So that promotes Sieb up to P9 and Bumpy up to the top 10 again. Yeah, very interesting incident with Jeroen trying to overtake Liam here. Went down the inside and looks like Liam made contact with Jeroen, which then led Jeroen to make contact with Wouter. As we now have a three-way battle of P5 with AJ, Leroy and Julian going around the outside in turn 2. Doesn't make it works for some reason, but a very interesting battle as we are now on the final lap of the Grand Prix.
I thought Leroy would have AJ with the overspeed he was carrying on the straight there, but it wasn't quite to be, as AJ defended beautifully with the pressure he has on his shoulders against Leroy and Julian. But gotta be careful one last time on the straight with Leroy. Then he needs a good exit at turn 16, carrying all the speed down and try and get AJ on the line, like Valtteri Bottas did on Lance Stroll. Oh, AJ almost lost it on the corner at the exit of turn number 7. And he keeps Leroy right behind him. But any more mistakes from AJ, he will probably get out-dragged by Leroy. So he's going to keep it nice and tidy coming out of turn number 16 there for his sake to stay in P5. But what a drive it's been for AJ as well, because I know he struggled in qualifying, but he finds himself in P5. But all really then on the podium, I thought he'd challenge Troye for the lead of the race, but he made a mistake at the second safety car restart somewhere. Allowed Isak Kush through. Isak Kush also had his own problems in the race, but he finds himself on the podium too as Leroy hits the barriers coming out of turn 17 there with Antonio Giovinazzi and Lance Stroll crashed in qualifying to 2021. And also Lance Stroll lost his had a punch on the straight as well in that race. But Leroy then, can he out-drag AJ? I don't think he can, as Troye wins the race in Baku. Isak Kush in P2, all reeling in P3 there, with Liam in P4. AJ, will he get out-dragged? Nope, too far ahead, and he finishes in P5 ahead of Leroy. Julian in P7, with Chivu in P8. It's been a chaotic race, must be said. A lot of things have happened in this race, and be one to watch back as well. Sieb continues with a broken front wing, well, not broken because he's lost it, in P9, and Bompier in P10 ahead of Reservoir. Bompier and Reservoir have had a struggle this race, but they've stayed in, kept it clean, I think they have anyway, and they came home to score some points. That's what it's all about. Dragon and Speed as well did that in the Tier 3 race, and what car is Little One in? Is he in the Alfa Romeo or Ferrari? However, another Ferrari-powered car has won the Baku Grand Prix because the Little One did it in Tier 3. I think he's in the Alfa Romeo is the Little One, if I'm correct, I'm not quite sure, or the Ferrari. But anyways, Ferrari-powered car has won around the streets. And give credit to Troye, because his pace has been mighty from the get-go, from qualifying onwards, just never looked back. Controlled the whole race, got tapped into turn number 1, but kept it under control. And well-deserved victory this time for Troye. Well, any time for him, but he's done an outstanding job once again. And he's a force to be reckoned with, isn't he, Stefan?
Indeed. Troye really putting on the manner here, and is really putting on the pressure towards Tony for the championship here. That's his second race win. The only driver to win 2 races, of course, since we had 6 different winners here. But that's our first double race winner of the season here, and what a way to do it. Got pole position and was really quick already throughout the race. Was quicker than Tony throughout, and Tony crashed out, so he very much deserved a race win here for the Ferrari driver. Will that be a Ferrari driver champion after 16 years? Of course, the last Ferrari champion was Kimi Räikkönen down in 2007, so it would be a nice way for someone to win the championship, especially being a Ferrari driver. So very much congratulations to him, but there's still a long way to go in the season, so the drivers should not get too ahead of themselves.
Yeah, I mentioned Liam, correct. Started last place, finished in P4, on for a potential podium, but things got a little bit spicy down at turn number 2, unfortunately. But P4 still a good result. And congrats to Liam in P4, AJ from P10 to P5. Oh, wow, it's a shame for him. He could have, well, had a chance of being on the winning this race against Troye, but unfortunately, I'm going to assume that's what happened when Troye crashed. Walter was there at the wrong place at the wrong time and couldn't do anything about it, because I don't think Tony was ghosted. I don't think they made contact, because I think they were too far apart to make contact. So unless I see footage, I'm going to stick to my point where Walter just collected Tony, not collected him, but was there to pick up the pieces after Tony put it in the wall. But yeah, it's a shame for Tony. The pendulum has swung back towards Axel's way, who gains the points back he lost at the Dutch Grand Prix. And bonus points for Troye for setting the fastest lap of the race too. Just outstanding, incredible. Just looks like the man to win the race after Tony unfortunately couldn't pressurise him. But Isak Kush there, good job to him as well. AJ, good job to him in P5 there, started P10. Leroy started the top 3 and sustained front wing damage, pitted 3 times, twice well, tried to change his front wing the first time, but it didn't happen. Got to change the second time, and I think he pitted on the third time for a new set of tyres under the second safety car. So, yeah, still good points in P6. Julian, a quiet race for him, so in this race, but P7 for him. Jeroen started P3, and after the first lap, that's where it went downhill, because I didn't see it. I thought he outbroke himself. Well, I thought he lost the rear in the car under braking. I think he had too much front brake bias, which caused the rears to lock up. But you said he got tagged by Isak Kush, didn't you?
Yeah, he did. Well, that basically confirms it because I'm checking the table on chat right now, and
it's spicy.
got clipped into the wall, and it's certainly spicy. I'm kind of loving it at the moment, all the drama, because yeah, I'm all here for it. See many arguments in the chat, but Jeroen did get clipped going into turn 2, which led to his front wing damage. It's quite unfortunate that he's in so many incidents, but hopefully he can have his luck turned around very soon. Thank you for commentating, Jamie. You're a very good commentator again today, so go on, talk.
Couldn't quite get the words I wanted, especially on the first safety car. I tried to think I say, can Tony get the reaction he needs to try and jump Joy in the first safety car restart. I just couldn't figure out how to say it for some reason. But I am, oh god. But hopefully my commentary is better in the next few races, and hopefully I'm not ill next time, because I'm always ill for some reason. Maybe I'm out in the cold all the time, that's probably the reason why, but summer is coming. Well, spring first, then summer. But yeah, Walter did say that he lost his front wing because the pyro crashed in the castle section, and Walter was just there to, yeah, couldn't avoid it whatsoever. I've seen plenty of that before. It happened to me a few races ago in a different league where Joshua's Joshua crashed in the castle section. I was there at the wrong time. I couldn't avoid it, so it happens, unfortunately. And yeah, but the pendulum swung towards Aurelian's way, gaining points on Pyro in the championship. Troye, however, will overtake Aurelian for P2 in the championship. So that's going to be very interesting. Has Troye finally got his season underway after the first few races didn't go well for him? But looks like he's on form this time. Can anybody stop him in the next race? Which is at Portimao, by the way, so I can't wait for that. And the race I remember at Portimao is Total P's. Fantastic drive from P18. Unfortunately, he could have won the race, but unfortunately, I think he made contact. So I'm quite sure who it was. I want to say, I think it was Jeroen Visser who made contact with. But yeah, we'll see what happens in Portimao. And we'll see you all next time in Tier 3 at 7:30. Little one won the race last time. Can he do it again? But we'll see you all next time in Tier 1 at 8:30. Thank you so much, Stevan, for commentating with me once again.
My pleasure, Jamie. You're great to commentate alongside. We saw a great race today, and I can't wait for next week. See you guys later.
Neither can I, mate. Neither can I. Thank you all for watching. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you see you racing here in CRL, and I'll be racing with you tomorrow, Kyle. See you all later.